Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Storytime with BDD. I'm your host, BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad, and my guest today really needs no introduction, but I'm going to do my best to do him some justice with my own introduction. He is a veteran. Hang on, let me just get this thing here. He is a veteran who served America honorably in the United States Navy as a former U.S. Naval Intelligence, specializing in naval cryptology and foreign language intelligence. He's also a globally recognized counterterrorism expert and intelligence community member who has been deployed to intelligence operations in the Balkans, the Middle East, and sub-Saharan Africa. He is an accomplished author, having penned 10 novels over the past decade, including The Plot to Destroy Democracy, The Plot to Betray America, and They Want to Kill Americans. He is a regular contributor to MSNBC, and it is my tremendous honor to have him on the show today. Ladies and gentlemen, Malcolm Nance.
Well, I'm glad to be here, but I don't have any wigs. So I don't know how I'm going to fit in at all. Especially that silver-haired Imran Khan deal that you have going. Okay, I'll try hard to help you out here.
That's a thing I do.
Michael Steele, one of my favorite things is Michael Steele has a Muppet from The Daily Show.
I've seen that. Yeah.
And every time I was on his show, I was like, where's the Muppet, man? I want to see the Muppet. He brings it up.
We can do to get you a Muppet. You deserve a Muppet, damn it.
Oh, if I get a Muppet, things are really bad.
Listen, I appreciate your time, because I know you are a busy guy. I mean, aside from all the books and all the appearances, I think I've seen you a lot. Especially, you have a very unique blend of intelligence and experience, especially with everything that's going on. While we're here, I just want to, I want to know, are you working on a new book? And when is the next one coming?
Well, that the latest book is called They Want to Kill Americans, the malicious, terrorist, and deranged ideology of the coming Trump insurgency. And I actually finished that book last July. But because of a global printing shortage, we finished editing it in September, but it won't be out until this July. So, but don't worry about it, because all the crazies, criminals, crazies, and crusaders out there in Trump world, they're all featured in there and pleading guilty and validating everything that I wrote, which is the potential for a coming civil war. But that's the book that I have coming out now. Next year, in 2023, late 2023, my memoir might be coming out. Will be coming out.
Do you have a title for that yet?
Yeah, it's called Thinker, Sailor, Black Man, Spy.
Ooh. I love it.
It's all true.
Sign me up for the first copy of that. I will be getting a copy of that.
Interestingly enough, in the history of the United States, there has never been an autobiography of a black spy. For all the thousands of people that are in the community, it's like, none of you's gonna write a book.
Well, isn't being a spy one of those things that if you tell somebody, then you got to kill them?
No, not at all. If you tell somebody, you got to buy them a cup of coffee to make it look interesting, right? I mean, most of this stuff, I'm constantly on air, and most of the time I like to make little jokes that only people in the spy community would get, the intelligence community would get. And 99% of my little comments are about travel claims. It's like, well, so long as you filled out your travel claims, because they don't understand it. Could you imagine what James Bond has to do at the end of every freaking episode? That's what you're not missing. He goes back, he's got to do gear turn in, he's got to start accounting for all the stuff that he blew up, and ammunition. The MI6 clandestine service ammunition expenditure report. He's got to fill that out. And it's like 32,000 rounds, Bond. We're going to need to see receipts for that.
Speaking of James Bond, would you be averse to having Idris Elba play you in the movie version of
Oh,
you?
well, first off, yeah, I'd have to grow a foot so that Idris Elba could play me. And I'm a little down on Idris Elba because it's like he's suddenly the only black British guy in the theaters. It's like, what, you couldn't find anyone else out in, Brixton? Come on,
He's
bro.
got swerve. He's got that swerve.
He's the British version of Omar Sy, right? The French actor. And who do we have over here? Right now, it's, I don't know, Kevin Hart. So Kevin Hart's hot, man. Kevin Hart is on fire. Every movie, Kevin Hart's, I was told by a very, very, very prominent producer in Hollywood, he is like the only sellable black man that will turn people out on all categories of race, creed, and color.
Wow.
Yeah, I love Kevin Hart. And he's super insanely fit. Oh my God. Yeah. He has his own workout trailer. He doesn't bring a rest trailer. He brings a workout trailer.
Yeah.
He's fed up.
Is it true? Do you live in Philly?
Well, I'm from Philadelphia. And I was born and raised in Philadelphia. Until just recently, I lived in Mount Airy. But I was raised in Winfield, which is near St. Joseph's University, and went to school there until I joined the military. And then, but the funny thing about being a Philadelphian is you don't do anything that Philadelphians do, because they're supposed to do it, like tourist things like that, Independence Hall stuff. I didn't see any of that until I was in the military. I had to take my wife. I never went inside of Independence Hall until I was married and took my wife there. I must have been like 45 years old. And it's like, oh yeah, I guess I better go see this. Liberty Bell, saw that though.
That's like us New Yorkers. Like, we don't get around to seeing the Statue of Liberty until we're like in our 40s.
Well, because it's not in freaking New York.
Yeah.
It's in Jersey. Who wants to go over there?
Well, I was asking you about Philly. I just started watching these two shows, Bel Air and Abbott Elementary, right? Which are both fantastic shows.
Abbott Elementary.
Yeah, Abbott Elementary is hilarious. It's a sitcom. Bel Air, not a sitcom, definitely a drama. Definitely
it's not
darker than the Fresh Prince.
They made the Fresh Prince a drama.
Yeah, it's good.
They're doing that. They're doing that to everything. They did it to Archie, for Christ's sakes. Remember the Archie comics? My daughter's like, "Oh, Archie is wonderful." I go, "Wait, are we talking Archie with the red hair?" And she goes, "Oh yeah, she's dating Betty." And I'm like, "Wait, are we talking the Archie comics?" These aren't serious teen dramas. They're fun. I said, "Does the guy who plays Jughead have a little crown on his head?" So it turns out he doesn't.
Oh. What a
did I ruin that for you now? You're my age. So some Archie comics.
Yeah.
Right, Abbott Elementary. Where's that? That's supposed to be in Philly, is it?
They're both. So Bel Air in the beginning is staged in Philly, but the main character, Will Smith, is from Philly. And from this show, I learned some Philly slang. There's this word called John, which apparently is like a catch-all word for anything. Like, I'm going to hang out at this John, or this John is getting me frustrated. And then bull. Bull apparently is another word. It's like a slang for dude. So I'm just wondering, is there any other Philly slang? Were you aware of these slang words? And is there any other Philly slang we should be aware of?
Well, everyone knows John. How is that a Philly word? That's a universal term. And you're talking to a professional cryptologic linguist here. I'm breaking codes in many parts of the world. John is used everywhere, right? There's always a word for John. Where's your family's ethnicity from? I'll tell you where.
Let's see. My mother's family is from French and British Guyana. My father's family is from, my father's father is from Indonesia.
You're Indo-Caribbean.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish I knew the Indonesian word. I know just about all the others. But yeah, John, there's a John everywhere. And I didn't know that it was a thing until you just said it. I thought it would be a New York City word too. I'm gonna hang out with that John. Get that John over here. And I'm trying to think of what the etymology of it is, right? Where did it originate? And I just think it's a modification of John, right? And
I thought
back when I was
joint.
From what?
I thought it might have come from joint, maybe the word joint.
It might even be a hybrid. But when we were kids, you have to remember, this is the 1960s Philadelphia, and we were using that term. And I don't want to have to point out how really old I am, but 1950s, 60s Philadelphia was typified by Bill Cosby when he used to make record albums, and he created the characters Fat Albert, and the kids from the neighborhood, who were all Philly kids, right? Mm-hmm. And we used to play his game Buck Buck and all these other things that he has on the albums. Now, of course, no one will ever admit they had ever seen or know about Bill Cosby, but it's one of them Johns, right? It literally can mean thing. It could mean item. It could mean an event. All right, that John was bad, y'all. That just popped into my head. I'm 60 years old now. I guess that term's been kicking around since Michael Jackson was 10. So, that's just one of those terms. Bool, I've never heard of. Professional linguist, study foreign languages, listen to idioms everywhere. Someone's going to have to tell me what part of Philly that's from, because it may be a sub-idiom from various neighborhoods. So if Will Smith uses it, I grew up in Winfield, which is across one train track from Overbrook, where Will Smith grew up. In fact, his production company is called Overbrook Productions because he went to Overbrook High School. Okay. Which is a very, very big school. So that may even have been an Overbrook term that never crossed the train tracks to the lower upper middle class Black people living in the Orthodox Jewish neighborhood of Winfield.
Can I just say something? It's almost not fair that you know so much about so many things. This was just a random thing, and
wait, what community did I work in? The people who should know things community, right?
Indeed, indeed. All right, this is what I want to know. I want to know, how do you relax in your downtime?
Yeah. So what's this downtime stuff you're talking about? I mean, other than doom scroll Twitter, I have a big house. My full-time job on this planet is chief of maintenance and housekeeping on my residence. And we bought this house in upstate New York in 2007. It was a ruin that was going to collapse in 4 places. I mean, attic to basement is just going to fall in. And so we bought it, cleaned it up, renovated it, gutted it. I mean, we took out 60 tons of plaster and lathing. Tell you how big this place is. Yeah. And so I'm usually assigned by myself, who is project manager of Malcolm. And I assign myself the morning cleaning task, and then the morning maintenance task, and then the light bulb changing task, and then the floor mopping task. But we have a very, very big garden here. I'm not a gardener. My beloved late wife was a landscape architect, and they should put her character in that show, Abbott Elementary, because she was hilarious. And in fact, I was just at the school district of Philadelphia the other day, getting a tour, and I've got a storyline for them. She was brought in from the Middle East. We lived in Abu Dhabi and Beverly Hills of the Middle East, the Bel Air of the Middle East. And she quit her major multi-billion-dollar budget corporate job building islands out of the ocean to go to Philadelphia and take over installing rain gardens in elementary schools. And in the first one she does, she calls her, she's French Canadian, so she has this huge accent. She goes, Malcolm, I have a crisis. And I go, what's the problem? She goes, there is a dead body in the playground. I go, what? She goes, then dead body. So I go, I want to see this myself. She goes, the police are there. So they go in, and the backhoe had been tearing up the asphalt. And this is an Abbott Elementary show. They're going to have to build her character, and they found bones, and they wanted to know if it was a corpse that had been planted. And so the coroner's there, everybody's checking, and they go, no, it's an old body from a cemetery.
Wow.
And in fact, this cemetery was a major part of Philadelphia, the old Oddfellow Cemetery. And they pulled the full poltergeist. They took the stones, they left the bodies. And she had, when the coroner said, well, this isn't our problem, these people have been dead a century, it's your problem. And she's the landscape architect on project, right? She literally is like, I left $4 billion budget for this. And she goes, I have to find $350,000 to rebury these people. So it was just the most ridiculous dilemma. She had 38 bodies down there. 38 bodies. And they were in a crypt, 9 children, all from around late 1800s to 1900s. And she has, this is where this would be. Yeah. But this would be great on Abbott Elementary, because the kids were all like, what's going on with the playground? And they were like, why is there, police crime scene tape all around the playground? Because there's bodies in there. And when the neighborhood got hold of it, she was just like, do you think they will come and try to grave rob it? I go, are you kidding? This is a black neighborhood. They don't even want to come near the chain link fence.
Nope.
And I go, they're never going to touch this place ever. You're fine. You can leave them exposed. The kids were like pushing each other towards the fence and running away. No, I go, no, this place is fine. That's what Abbott Elementary should be doing. Oh my God, did I divert us?
It's fine.
I'm good.
I want to quickly switch gears with you, though.
Sure.
I want to ask, what are the gas prices looking like near you?
$4.36 regular. I just filled gas for a friend who's visiting from Canada, right? So I understand that, but that's fine. Look, I'm not in Bel Air, right? What is that place? And when I did Real Time with Bill Maher a few times, they put you in Hollywood. No, Beverly Hills.
Wow.
And I walk around Beverly Hills, and I found that gas station in Beverly Hills that the news media always goes to. That no matter what, the median price of that place is $5.50 a gallon when gas is at $2. They double it. And so now they're like, it's $8 there. It's like, that was $8 Thursday night 6 years ago, right? Whenever that premium tank gets a little low, that meter goes up. And they always report from there.
They have been doing that. I knew it.
It's one place in LA. Everybody else, $4.20 a gallon. But that's not an interesting story.
It's still undeniable. I get it that the prices of gas are up. They're over $4 here, so I know. But do you hear people in your area blaming Biden for it?
Well, I live in a very red area, which is funny because we have a black Democratic congressman, and it's like a 92% white county. Mm-hmm. But all you see out here is your "Let's Go Brandon" signs. So that's their way of doing it. But now it gives us the opportunity to question their real patriotism, right? Mm-hmm. The way that I did Tucker Carlson's last night, right? So where you can get into it with these individuals, and they're like, well, Joe Biden is something like, yeah, unified the world against a communist, ex-KGB dictator who you all loved until a week ago. And as I said this on air on MSNBC, when you start seeing the photographs of dead, blonde-haired, blue-eyed white children and grandmothers who look like your grandmother, then the right will break with they'll keep the Biden hatred, but they'll break with the should we support the Putin or not? And it's happened. But now they can bitch about gas prices.
Do you have people running up to you on the street? Because I'm sure everybody recognizes you. Do you have people running up to you asking you questions about national security or?
Oh yeah, yeah, all the time. And people, we get a lot of New Yorkers up here, and they'll go by and they'll go, "Oh, Malcolm Nance," and I'll go, "Yeah," and they go. Once I went, "Where?" But my wife, my wife was so funny. She's such a funny woman. When we go through an airport, somebody would go, "Oh, is that Malcolm Nance?" My wife would go, "That's point there." I didn't know for almost a year she was behind me. People go, "Oh, Malcolm Nance, I love you," blah blah blah, and it's just like mainly black people. But can I ask you a question? And we would just start talking, because what you don't realize is I'm just talking on television. I'm not one of those pundits that have rehearsed their answers 5 or 10 times. And as one producer said, I can see you thinking when they ask the question. And I go, and then I just tell you whatever's on the top of my head.
Let me just tell you, not to fanboy you too much, all right, but it is the reason why me and so many people like me, like all over Twitter, are big fans of you, is because you are a thinker. We see you, and we hear you, and we know you're not bullshitting us. So
but don't worry. On occasion, I will actually make an error, and oh my God, the bot world that waits for me to make mistakes is just incredible. I mistook a Russian surface-to-air missile system that was damaged on the side of a road, and the two systems use the same missiles, right? Only one is wheeled, the other one is on tracks and has these 30-millimeter cannons. And my mind went, oh, Pantsir, right? Oh, look, a Pantsir surface-to-air missile system. And then, the right-wing botosphere comes out and goes, Naval Intelligence? Why don't you stick to the Navy? And it's just like, y'all can bite me, only I can't say that. All the time.
What? But you could remind them that they are the same people who can't get your. So you can't spell your correctly, but you want to get them.
Yeah, Yore. And they think that's correct. It's spelled correctly.
A little over a month ago, you were still in Ukraine. Wait, it wasn't a month
ago. No, it's not even. I can tell you, 21. When we're at day 19, it was 19 days ago. I was in Ukraine. Okay, I left 6 hours before the attack.
Now, you were busy driving all over the major roads, mapping out potential routes for Russia to pursue once they entered Ukraine. And
their invasion
you
routes.
seem to have a crystal ball, because you really called it. I have a clip here from one of your appearances on Joy Reid's show. Do you mind if I play this clip?
Sure.
Here we go.
Well, let me clarify some things. I've been here a month in studying the Russian order of battle and the routes of potential invasion in this country. And unfortunately, quite possibly by the time you and I talk again on the next show, we could be moving along with about 5 million refugees away from a Russian onslaught that's designed to not just knock down the Ukrainian government, but also kill Ukrainian citizens by the tens of thousands. This could be the single largest land war since World War II. This country is a democracy. The United States, until just last week, had U.S. armed forces in this country assisting them with democracy building and, of course, training on weapon systems that we are giving them to defend their democracy. What we find right now, and I've had these discussions with Ukrainian journalists, Ukrainian ministers, the Ukrainian commander of the land forces, some of these Americans come off as straight up fifth columnists. They come off exactly like Tucker Carlson, Tucky Rose, as we constantly call him. They support Moscow, and they are now working in the interest of a dictator that is about to destroy the largest, one of the largest fledgling democracies in Europe, and quite possibly kill tens or hundreds of thousands of the 42 million people here who side with America and who want to be on the side of the West and NATO.
Now, as usual, very well said. You said it could possibly be the single largest land war that we've seen, with possibly 5 million refugees. We're almost at 3 million right now.
Yeah, I shorted that. It's going to hit 10.
Oh my
They
God.
haven't even started to empty the cities. Kiev is about, they say Kiev is a population of 3.5 million, but it has a shadow population of 1 million. And they say that they're down to about 2.5 million. And that those are the people who are really on the march to Poland, not the people who live in Western Ukraine. But you have Kharkiv, Sumy, Odessa, Dnipro, Zaporozhye, all of these cities, that's another 2 to 3 million. And then if Kyiv starts really getting hit, add 1 million to that. So we're gonna run into 10 million throughout Europe. It's gonna be awful.
What other predictions have you made about Ukraine, about the war or conflict in Ukraine that you are either afraid or hopeful will come to pass?
Well, the most significant one is one which only in the last few days that I've seen other people starting to mimic. I think about 4 days into the war, it was becoming very clear to me that the Russians were not meeting any of their strategic objectives. People were telling me, and people who were in the intelligence community were telling me, you've got to get away from Kyiv. When this thing kicks off, they're going to be able to take Kyiv in 24 to 48 hours. And I think I've said this on air several times. I go, are you kidding? This is a city the size literally of Chicago. Okay. I don't care how you run in. This is the big difference between Chicago and this place. This place, Kyiv, is full of these 20-story Russian concrete block apartment complexes that ring every major access way into the city. You got to fight through those, right? And they're just tank killing platforms, right? It's just things that you cannot really defeat without an enormous quantity of firepower. And so I had made a prediction that the Russians would attempt to make a lightning seizure of the city. I even said that they might do an airborne drop or a heliborne drop into the city or near the city. That occurred when they landed in Hostomel, which is where the Antonov aircraft factory was. When I drove, that's a funny story. We drove by this place, Hostomel, so that we could see the AN-225 airliner, the cargo jet, the largest cargo jet in the world, called the Dream, Mirna. And we drove by it, and we were on that road, which is a horrible little road. It's like a Philly road, right? It's full of potholes. And I go, wow, the plane's over there in the hangar. This place is awesome, the headquarters of Antonov Aircraft. And I said, this is one of the major invasion roads, because this comes from Borodyanka, which is up to the northwest, which connects up into the major cargo route or customs route from Ukraine, from Belarus. I said, this is going to be a major invasion road. This was the road that giant column of cars was on. And the reason that they were stuck there is because it's really a 1-lane road turned into 2 lanes. You just head on each other all the time. And the shoulders are just nothing but mud. And I posted a photograph when we went off road, and it was 52 degrees that day when it should have been minus 10. So climate change hit that place in a big way. And I said, these Russians, they're never going to survive this. They can't get off the roads.
I had a question for you about that convoy. I was going to ask you, what is the deal with the super slow pace of Russia's 40-mile-long convoy towards Kiev? Shouldn't they have arrived a long time ago? And did they?
But you're under the impression that it's like, one of those Bugs Bunny conga lines, right? Everybody's got their hands on the hips of the guy in front of them and moving along as the lead person keeps pace. Well, that's true. It's called a logistics train. The combat elements of that were actually invading had already been down there. They had deployed to Irpin, Hostomel, Bucha, but they were getting slaughtered. I mean, Hostomel, the airport, the one where that transport was at, there's an incredible video. The Russians were getting slaughtered.
Oh, shit.
They took Chechnyan special forces and and we knew this was coming. I actually said this in a tweet before the war. If you go back, there's a tweet where I say imminent war warning. And I go, there are 70 helicopters about 25 kilometers north of Chernobyl, north of the border. And I said, the last time I saw this many helicopters assembled was when the Iraqis invaded Kuwait. And I had worked the Iran-Iraq war mission on and off over 10 years. And I never saw more than 5 Iraqi helicopters fly together. And before the invasion of Kuwait, I had 50 all at one airport. And I go, whoa, that is a helicopter assault force. And so,
yours.
I see that. What does it say?
This one says Ukraine Army, 250,000 men and women have a single message to POTUS and House Democrats send Stinger and Javelin missiles. 5,000 should do it. Would you want to revise that estimate?
Oh, well, yeah. No, I think we actually have reached that number, and they're doing quite well. We just need to sustain that. But what I was saying about that airport, the special forces jumped into that airport with helicopters. But no, the Ukrainians, this is one of the problems that I had with media. And I said this quite often. You seem to forget there's a Ukrainian army.
Yeah.
In the run-up to the invasion, they kept showing Russian tanks and Russian aircraft, and the Russians have this many people. It's like, whoa, wait, Slick. Ukraine has a 250,000 men and women army.
Yeah.
And they mean to fight. And I said, I was, one of those predictions that I made that most people have shied away from. I said very early on, I said the Russians appear to have spent their major assault forces and they're getting chewed up. They're getting slaughtered. And by day 7, I had said, I think the Ukrainians can win this war. I think the Ukrainians have the capacity to stop, not just stop the Russians, defeat the Russian army. And I had people were coming on, military analysts going, oh, they're going to take Kiev in a matter of days. The assault for Kiev has started. And I kept going, are you in the same world? And then I just realized you've never been there. You don't know anything about it. I literally drove the roads that I knew the Russians would come down because I needed to see how wide were the roads. What was the service and support, like gas stations on the side of the roads? Could you get coffee? All the important things that you need for an invasion, especially the coffee part.
Coffee.
Yeah, but you can measure, you get a feel for how fast you can do it in a Prado, right? In a Mitsubishi Prado. But if you're sitting in a 60-ton main battle tank that is going literally gallons to the mile, okay, then you have a completely different perspective. I could walk faster than the Russians could invade with them being shot at. And we started seeing, it's taken them 3 weeks to break through around the city of Chernihiv, northeast of Kiev, mainly because they just bypassed it. And then that armor got into a place, this small village, and you saw them just ambush them, right? Blowing up artillery, and all the tanks had to turn around and go back. But if you want to see something incredible, just go to Google and type in Hostemel, Hostemel, helicopters, Stingers. And it's a video of all those Russian helicopters I put that warning out about assembling down there. As soon as I saw 70 helicopters together, I go, I've already seen this war. I've seen this invasion before. They flew in over the reservoir, right? Like 16 helicopter guys counting 1, 2, 6, 5, 12, 14, 16. And it's a Stinger missile ambush. It's an ambush. Stinger missiles are just flying in the air. And in that 1 30-second scene, they shoot down 2 helicopters with like 35 people in them right in front of you.
Wow.
Right? And those guys are shooting, there's other Stingers. They were sitting there waiting for them. Dee. So that prediction came true that it's coming true. And now analysts are changing to, I think the Ukrainians can win. I'm generally 14 days ahead of most analysts, and I'm generally 96 hours reporting what's accurately happening over the news media because they have these delays. So when defense analysts were saying Kiev would fall in 2 days, I said never. And then when they said, well, it'll fall in 7 days, I said never. And when they said it would fall now, the intelligence estimate is 8 to 16 weeks. I say never. That city ain't never going to fall. You can't even surround it.
Can I just say something, right? In my mind, right, I've been conditioned, I don't think I'm alone, I've been conditioned to see Russia and the Russian army as this big, formidable military machine that is almost, undefeatable. It's like if Ivan Drago was a military, that's
Drago.
To see it. And I think,
Can I point out something?
People don't see Ukraine as Rocky. They see Ukraine as, Gilbert Gottfried or whatever. At least up until a week or two ago, we didn't know Ukraine was rolling like that.
Look, can we use foul language on this show?
Yes, go for it.
Ivan Drago is a really good analogy. And I would like to point out to listeners, Ivan Drago got his ass beat. I mean, he killed Apostle Creed. Apostle Creed was essentially Syria. Okay. All right. So they just beat him down. I will break you. Right? Isn't that what he said? I will break you.
Yeah.
To Rocky. And Rocky is Ukrainian army. But Rocky was prepared and he was taking the punches and, staggering around. But, comes out and, go get him, Rocky. And boom, he beats, Ivan Drago, knocks him out. Mm-hmm. I suspect that's what's happening. I don't suspect anymore. I know there is a strategic rope-a-dope going on with the Russian army. I know in at least 2 of the long columns that they have apparently were designed to let the Russians down, give them all of that length of terrain, and then come behind them, not to the tank units, stop the tank units with javelins, and the real army is coming down their rear, destroying all their logistics train, their fuel trucks, their ammunition trucks. They've got guerrillas running out there. Look, freaking farmers are the second largest tank army in Europe, right? So, they're just going out and capturing all these tanks because the tanks ran out of fuel. So when you destroy the logistics train, when you destroy the fuel, ammunition, and, outdated food, then the tanks must stop. Because they do run gallons to the mile. I think it's some crazy number, like 7.
How could Putin not anticipate this?
Yeah, well,
who it's a former KGB and he's super smart and strategic and whatever.
I used to think that, and I wrote a book. My last book, Plot to Betray America. I went to Putin's office in Dresden, and I wanted to see where he was. How was he formed as a baby spy? And I sat in the office, and the person who recovered the building from the East Germans when it was reunited said there were microphones in every door sill, every window sill. It was a building of paranoia, and it was designed to let you know that if you weren't doing your job, they knew you weren't doing your job. If you conspired, everyone was listening to each other, right? Putin was a good manipulator, though. He liked manipulating people. He loved going out and doing the intelligence officer stuff and flipping people, East Germans, West Germans and businessmen and things like that. But that doesn't make you a master strategist. I am not a master strategist, but I know the fundamentals. And the fundamentals go like this. You cannot take 175,000 men, all right, and then attack a 250,000-man army with all of your supposed new technology and not think they won't fight. Mm-hmm. And that's what U.S. news media did. And I was pulling my hair out on air, literally on MSNBC saying, they got an army, right? I literally said that. These people, I was just with them at the Donetsk battlefield. And a guy who I admire greatly is General Pavlyuk. And General Pavlyuk, we went down for a junket press tour of the front battlefield. He's commander of Donetsk and Luhansk, and he had been for a couple of years. And he's a short little guy, little pugnacious kind of guy. And the journalists from CNN were just like hammering him. Yeah. We know the Russians are 210 feet over there, but what are you going to do when the Russians invade from Belarus? What are you going to do when the Russians do an amphibious landing in Odessa and come up from the Crimea? And the guy was sitting there getting exasperated, and he goes, I don't care what direction they come from. I'm going to fight them. And I go, oh, this guy can't be beat. This guy can't be beat. It's the old saying from the Chosin Reservoir in Korea when they were surrounded. Now I can counterattack in any direction. Right? It's just like, this gonna be good. I'm gonna be writing some history books. I may not make it through, but someone's getting their ass kicked. And when I met that guy, I said, I need a picture with this guy. Him and General Sersky, the commander of the land forces, who was just exasperated when he was constantly getting asked these questions. So when the journalists finished, they didn't know they had a spy in their midst, right? They all thought we were all journalists. I came over to him and he goes, yes, you have a question? Like, oh, another one of you MFers. I whip out my camera. I go, no, selfie. Boop. And we took this big cheesy grin selfie. And he was just so happy that someone understood that, he's a guy, and he doesn't have to constantly answer questions about the Russian invasion. Because guess who's kicking their ass right now? General Sersky is commander of the all land forces, all military in Ukraine. And he's kicking their ass right now. Right. And I'm just like, I got a selfie with the bro. Everybody else got an interview.
On that note of kicking ass, I do need to switch gears and move on to our next segment, which I like to call Quick Hits.
Oh, okay.
All right. And we got some questions for you. Today, President Zelensky spoke to the Canadian Parliament, and he made an impassioned plea primarily for a no-fly zone. Now, why should we or shouldn't we employ a no-fly zone? I seem to understand that would push us into World War III. Yeah, but get your take on it.
Yeah. Okay. I've done no-fly zones. I took part in the no-fly zone over Bosnia, no-fly zone over southern Iraq and northern Iraq. Those things, I mean, every day we were having to airstrike surface-to-air missile systems. We were having to airstrike radars. We were having to airstrike AAA anti-aircraft guns. Just unhealthy. And they're waiting for the Iraqis to come up and challenge it. They would come up in their airplanes and they were like, ooh, nose to nose. And then people were getting lock on like Top Gun. And then at the last minute, when the no-fly zone area come, they turn away. And they got all this dissimilar air combat training from us. But we used that to, blast them when the war came. A no-fly zone over Ukraine, not Belarus, by the way. A no-fly zone over Ukraine would entail us having to fly into the teeth of the Russian air defense system, which, by the way, can cover most of Ukraine. That's the Ukrainian Air Force. Interesting fact. They have about 65 fighter jets, Su-24 flankers and MiG-29 Fulcrums, right? And they actually are not flying a lot of combat missions because of the air defense threat. They're doing a good job with their drones, though, killing tanks and air defense systems all over the place. But the S-400, these other major surface-to-air missile systems that are in Russian airspace, Russian territory, can engage and shoot down these aircraft. So if the Russians just decide to say, no, we don't give two Fs that you're going to implement a no-fly zone. To be honest, when you say you have a no-fly zone, it means you are committing yourself to killing anything that flies there, right? So 2 Su-25 Frogfoot aircraft come flying out of Rostov area like they did yesterday, flying very low altitude, just over the tops of buildings, shoot down over the city of Donetsk, go to the place that I was at, Adivitsa, and then rocket and drop bombs all over it. U.S. or NATO aircraft now have to respond to that, right? They have to get a vector from the E-2 Sentry aircraft, which has the big radar dome on the top, which, by the way, the Russians can shoot down because it will have to move forward into that airspace. And then you get a vector on them, and as you're getting a GCI ground, XCI air-controlled intercept on them, those tiny little planes turn around and they go whoop back into Russian airspace. Now, let's say you lock them up. Let's say that you had surface-to-air missiles or air-to-air missiles on them. What is your authority? Do you have full free weapons free on anything that flies in there? Which means you could shoot down any airplane that's there. Helicopters, you know how the Russians are. You're going to shoot down a helicopter that violated the no-fly zone. They're going to go, it was a hospital helicopter, and it was full of wounded Russian children, and you killed them all, and they'll produce a helicopter and the bodies. Look, they don't need a no-fly zone, okay? What they need is a U.S. lend-lease of the Reaper drone system, the MQ-9 Reaper drone. That's the Predator drone that carries 8 huge anti-tank missiles. The current one they have from the Turkish, the Bayraktar TV2 drone, carries only 4 missiles, moderate size, not as good as the Hellfire missile. And the Hellfire missile is very good. It will kill anything the Russians have in their inventory, including their newest main battle tanks. And I say we just give them 20 Predators. 20 Predators land outside in a field in Poland. They're put onto a flatbed truck. They're trucked a quarter mile into Ukraine, right? We have a drone pod that they will have trained on because they already operate major drones. It's not very dissimilar. Just let those guys fly those drones to wherever they want to operate those drones from. And then a conga line of trucks should come behind them full of Hellfire missiles. You know, a couple of thousand should do it. And let them arm them, fly them, kill them. It shouldn't be a no-fly zone. Oh, by the way, Hellfire missile in the right parameters can be used against helicopters. You know, so don't give them a no-fly zone. Give them a no-tank zone. Give them if you defeat their army, okay, you don't have to worry about that. Now, alternatively, there's another thing that you can do. I know it's supposed to be quick hits, but you asked for this question. We could ask our NATO allies that were former Soviet bloc members, Romania, Bulgaria, even Greece. Greece has a very good intermediate range surface-to-air missile system. The United Arab Emirates bought the Russian Pantsir air defense missile system, but the UAE is acting like they're Russia's best boo-boo right now because they like thugs, and they wouldn't give those up. But they got their butts handed to them in Yemen, and those systems didn't help them at all. The Israelis showed us they were easy to destroy. So some of these countries that are operating these weapon systems that Ukraine already has can just turn them over, drive them to the border, get out, leave the keys in them, right, in the neutral zone between Poland and that place, and let them drive them across the border, spray paint the Ukrainian trident on them, and now you're in business. You know, and it will give you higher altitude, which will deny them airspace. That strike that they did on the military base, the former training base on the Polish border, they were attacked by 31 cruise missiles, 33 cruise missiles that were fired from airplanes in Russian airspace, not even over Ukraine. And it took them like 40 minutes to fly over there. They shot down 22 of 31 aircraft missiles. And those 9 that got through did some damage, killed 35 people, wounded 100 and some odd. Imagine all 33 of them impacted. It would have killed over 100 people or more. So a good air defense system is needed, but what they need is an intermediate altitude air defense system. I think they control everything from 10,000 feet and below. What they need is 10,000 feet to 40,000 feet. And at that point, you just don't even want to be there. I mean, the Russians don't have to be there. Next question.
So we have options. We have options that we should
explore. And why wouldn't we revolutionize what we're doing? And some U.S. company out there's got to go, we got a drone, we can get it over there tomorrow, and we can mount, we can jury rig Ukraine's air-to-air missiles on them.
I want to ask you about Tulsi Gabbard. This weekend, she posted a video talking about the latest right-wing conspiracy, U.S.-backed biolabs in Ukraine. I mean, she served in the same U.S. military as you did. How is she so completely indoctrinated by Russian propaganda?
I would like to point out something that my good friend Mike Perry pointed out. The greatest traitors to the United States have come from the U.S. Armed Forces. Benedict Arnold, for example. They're always disgruntled individuals, someone who has some sort of grudge. One of my favorite ones is George Norman Rockwell. Not Norman Rockwell. George Lincoln Rockwell, who, I went to the Norman Rockwell Museum the other day. It's nearby. But George Lincoln Rockwell was a former U.S. Navy pilot in World War II. And this guy founded American Nazism. And he was he fought in World War II, but he was a great admirer in the post-war of Nazism and racism and genocide against blacks and Jews. Yeah, U.S. Navy, veteran. Being in the military doesn't exempt you from being crazy. And what was it Mitt Romney called her? A treasonous nutter? A treasonous nutter or something along those lines. And I think she is. I think she doesn't understand the oath. What's interesting is she went to take an assignment as a psychological warfare officer in her reserves so that she could be around the special forces types in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. But she's nuts. And how the Department of Defense haven't evaluated her and said, hey, the comments that you made, granted they weren't in uniform, but they were against, the code of conduct, conduct unbecoming of an officer. I'd have stripped her of everything. I would have brought her back on to active duty, court-martialed her, and then pulled everything, kicked her out of the armed forces.
There's a long list of people.
I mean, she has a right to say stupid things. She does. But she doesn't have a right to, while serving on reserve or active duty in the military, make comments that are almost treasonous.
Speaking of
treason,
memos show that the Kremlin is pushing Russian journalists to cite Tucker Carlson, aka Tuckio Rose.
Rose.
Is he a useful idiot? Is he intentionally running point for Putin?
I don't think he's a useful idiot. And these are terms of art. And the terms of art actually stack up like this. It starts off with a useful idiot. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, useful idiot, a fellow traveler, an unwitting asset, a witting asset, and then an agent. Right? An agent is a paid person who knows what he's doing. He's receiving tasking. He signs a contract. He does things for a handler. I've always said that Trump, when he started out, was an unwitting asset because he's a moron. But when he saw that Russian money flowing in and he saw that they were hacking for him, he became a witting asset. I think Tucker Carlson's a witting asset. He's also a fellow traveler. I think he truly believes all of that stuff about Putin. And he uses his, question mark hyperbole, is Putin really my enemy? Has he called me a racist? Well, not to your face, right. But now you are his asset. And now the memo is out, which makes you a witting asset. So if you continue along this line of questioning, I have to wonder whether you're receiving some compensation somewhere. Or is it just you do it for the love of a dictator's, Have you ever seen the movie Idiocracy?
Oh, yeah, of course.
And at the beginning, the Army officer is talking about how they acquired the second test subject for their thing. And it's that Army officer is hanging out with a pimp named Upgrade and UPGREYYD. And he goes, double D, it's 2 Ds for a double dose of pimpin'. But the key line from that movie is a pimp's love is a special kind of love. That's Vladimir Putin and Tucker Carlson's relationship. A pimp's love is a special. Every time I see him, that phrase from Idiocracy pops into my head.
Well, let's talk about a special relationship between Putin and President Xi. Russia has been reported to be begging China for both military and economic assistance, including MREs. Is that an encouraging sign of despair and depletion for Putin's army?
Well, it could be an sign of certainly how bad their logistics train has been. By the way, the person Putin's number 2 man, Prigozhin, the guy who runs his mercenaries, is the man responsible for feeding every school in Russia and the armed forces of Russia. And apparently he's obviously been skimming off the top. The reason he loved Prigozhin is Prigozhin ran a mafia restaurant for him in St. Petersburg when he got out of the KGB and was assistant to the mayor of St. Petersburg. So Prigozhin has become his man, right-hand man and deniable man. If he's buying MREs, then Prigozhin's going to take a long walk out of a short window very soon.
Oh, shit.
So that's how they do it in Russia, right? You wake up with a heart attack or you walk out of a window. And
yeah.
But this is a sign, and this is where you have to watch the Chinese. Ignore what Putin's doing. China is playing long ball here. They back 100% what Russia is doing. But you know what they're really doing is they understood that the Russian economy would be collapsed and that Kentucky Fried Chicken would close and McDonald's would close. And China is going to be there to pick up the pieces. If they successfully invade Ukraine, they knew that Ukraine would sustain $1 trillion worth of damage. They estimate there are 200 billion right now in 19 days. So China will be the country that supplies all the materials, all the logistics, even Chinese companies to do manpower. China is understood.
That China's going to buy low in Russia, basically.
Sell high, yeah. Yeah, and they will own Russia. They will own it. They won't own the atomic bombs, but Putin will be so much in debt. China could also almost cut a deal with the oligarchs to make sure Putin's command is terminated.
Wow. Or,
as the famous phrase in the movie Apocalypse Now, you mean terminate the colonel. When he says terminate the colonel's command. Well, believe me, that may be the only way out of the use of chemical or atomic weapons. We can't make that decision. We can't even advocate for it. His generals will have to make that decision. His bodyguard, his people around him. I say somebody there in his bodyguard detail might have a distant Ukrainian grandmother who was killed and may pull the Indira Gandhi on him or Rajiv Gandhi.
He's using those long ass tables.
Yeah. No, but I wouldn't use a long ass table. That just gives you a ramp to aim down. You can skip bullets off the top of that table. No, that's COVID. They say he's COVID paranoid.
Interesting. Of all people.
Yeah.
Right.
His bodyguards are going to do him, I'm sure.
I now have some questions from our viewers, our faithful viewers here in the audience who are excited about this episode of Storytime with BDD. Let's start with our first one here from Laurie B. She wants to know, do you think America, along with NATO, will become more engaged in the war in Ukraine? And if so, when?
I hope it does not. Because NATO is an alliance. We're a treaty of 30 nations, maybe bumping up to 32 when Finland and Sweden might join because they're afraid of Russia fighting Russia alone. But I certainly don't hope they become engaged as NATO. I hope they become engaged as individual countries that are resupplying them so that the alliance treaty doesn't have to be invoked. If we're attacked, the only time Article 5 of the NATO Alliance Treaty has been invoked is when we were attacked on 9/11, and we didn't invoke it. The other NATO nations saw that we were struck and hurt, and out of the kindness of their heart said, hey, we're with you. We're invoking Article 5, and they were in combat in Afghanistan for 10 years, which, in case you wonder where the Ukrainians and others got a lot of their experience. So, No, but I hope NATO doesn't get more involved as NATO. I hope they get involved as, surface-to-air missile systems having their keys left at the Polish parking lot. and, and some naughty truck thief comes over and takes it along with 20 trucks full of missiles. That's how they should get engaged. And I think that's why you see the prime minister of Poland, the Czech Republic, and Slovenia there in Kiev today, right? Risking the bombs, especially the prime minister of Poland, because now they used to hate each other. The capital of, the city of Lviv used to be Polish, used to be called Lvov in Polish. And everywhere I went down there, they were like, well, this is a Polish cemetery, but we got this land back from them. Now these two countries are inextricably linked. If Ukraine survives, and I believe it will survive, I don't think that country's going to collapse. It'll be modified a little bit around the edges. But if it survives, it's going to have a tight relationship with the Poles. I wouldn't be surprised if you start seeing the Polish just start stationing troops there and deep exercising with the Poles.
I got to say, just aside from these questions I'm asking you here, the things that you're saying really are kind of buoying my spirits. And so sometimes that's what I need. I know there's a negative to everything, negative side, and there's a positive side. And right now, my spirit needs the positive side. And I'm grateful for you providing
this story. I mean, look, the Ukrainian army is tired. Parts of it could collapse or fall back. I know what they're planning. All right. I'm the person who coined the phrase white Taliban. Okay. And that's what the Russians are going to get, the white Taliban. And they are not going to like the result.
I have another question from Brooklyn Wifey.
Oh, Brooklyn Wife, defiant?
That's right.
Or compliant?
She wants to know, she says, we don't hear that much about cyber on the news in terms of it being to attack or undermine Putin's forces. Why is that?
This is one of the few places that I was wrong at the beginning of this invasion. I suspected, look, I was living in Kiev and other parts of the country the whole time, and I was expecting a massive cyber attack in order to neutralize the governmental systems. Here's what I suspect happened. I suspect the Russians ordered that nothing be attacked because they thought that the country would collapse in a few days. They wanted all the infrastructure. So when you burn all the servers that's running the internet, that's running the cell phone system, you put viruses in there, those things can wild weasel, right? Those things can come back right into Russia and start knocking down their servers and their systems. Also, interesting fact, we had learned that from captured Russian systems that the Russians were using the Ukrainian cellular system. And that's why it hasn't been knocked down. It's integral to their battle plan because their communication structure uses it as a secondary comm system. And so they can't knock it down. They must leave it. And if they do it, they're going to go to radio, all right, which can be jammed, intercepted, which we've already seen some good examples of, where these guys got on uncleared little handheld Baofeng radios. And the Ukrainians were on the same frequency going, the very famous phrase they use over there, which means surprise. It's I had a intimate relationship with your mother, and which is the phrase, right? And and these guys are cursing and yelling back and forth, and the guy's like, I need that artillery mission, and they're like, screw your artillery mission, we're coming for you, you dogs. And I mean, it's like, welcome to radio. I don't know if anybody told you about this, but you're talking like they spoke in World War II, and you're getting it handed to you like it was done in World War II. They're not as efficient as the Nazis, right? So they needed that system. So cyber, they neutralize their cyber capability. Also, when it's unleashed, it can come right back and bite you in the butt.
One of our viewers, Simon Metcalf, wants to know, what's the hard red line for NATO going to be with Ukraine? Is it chemical weapons, nukes?
Oh, it can't be nukes. Okay, let's get this stuff off the table because people say, oh, Malcolm, you're in the military. I also did two things in my career that led me to be an ardent, brutal anti-nuke. Okay. One is that when I was at when I was assigned at the Department of Defense, I pulled a short tour. That's like a replacement tour, so somebody can have 2 weeks off at a national nuclear command post. And boy, the first thing they do is they put you in there with the big board, right? That shows the arc of Earth over North America, and then they can bring it so that it shows all of the missile launching bases in Russia. And they say, "Hey, Podunk, what town you from?" And he'd be like, "I'm from Hillbilly, Iowa," or "I'm from Donkey Slam, West Virginia." And they'll go, "Okay, well, let me put Donkey Slam up there," and they'll put it on the big board of the United States. And they'll go, "Well, here's where we're standing right now. Boom. Where's your ma at? My ma's in Ames, Iowa." And they put, "Okay, let's put Ames, Iowa in." And then, you're all you got about 12 people who are like, "Wow, the big board." 12, 15 people all thinking this is fascinating, gee whiz stuff. And then they go, "Well, here's why we're here, to warn against this." And they run a simulation, right? Where the alarms go off. Launch alert, launch alert. We're like, "Fuck, what?" And they go, boom. They go over to Russia, and it's like, we're seeing X indicator, Y indicator, missile launch silo door lids open, launch silo blast, missile plume, right? Missile blah, 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 designated Krasnoyarsk missile base, missile number 125 now launching, 127 now launching, 133 now launching, 155 now launching. And you go, there's a 0 through 155, right? And you start seeing these little lines go up there, and they go, "Well, this takes about 32 minutes to complete. We're going to accelerate it for you." And they go, and then they show you that view coming over North Canada. And this is hundreds of atomic bombs on the way to the United States. And then there it is. There's, Donkey Slam, West Virginia gets it. They don't get a direct hit on the nuke, but they get, Summit Point or some other place has been designated having a population over 5,000 or 10,000, and it goes. And then I'm from Philadelphia. I'm like, first 8 minutes. So people come out of there and they're like, "I don't ever want to use these damn things ever," right? And everybody's like, "Fuck, not doing this," right? We're gonna stand the watches. Pray to God this doesn't happen, because I'll go, "Oh yeah," and everybody, this facility gets 3 bombs. And everyone outside this facility is dead or dying. And the whole world is now blanketed in a mile-deep cloud of radioactive dust, which covers every centimeter of the sky. And it goes down to like minus 20 degrees outside, because we're now the backside of the moon, the dark side of the moon. And all that radiation settles down on people everywhere, even if you're not involved in this thing. Everything dies. And everybody goes, we got to get rid of these things, right? That's what happens when you work in one of those places. Then I was on atomic submarines, and I have to, use the treadmill or the exercise bike and rear machinery. And you got to go by an atomic reactor, which is right there. And when I qualified on submarines, I had to stand watch on atomic reactors. So I knew how to, qualify to learn how, or watch them use the control rods and, control the intensity of the reactor to make more steam. That steam turns the turbines turn the propeller, and submarine go faster. So, and you're just like, man, this stuff is dangerous. That's the motto of this story. We don't, that is a red line. It's a red line. At that point, no, the red line is immediate and violent regime change. Because the whole world's going to have to take part in that. And that means you're going to have to go out there and do what I say with the CIA. Sometimes I say, yeah, you start putting gold bars on the table and say, "Hey, bro, you just tell me when you can't carry this out. If you want, we'll get you a pallet jack. But we're going to start putting gold bars on the table. And you tell us when it's too much for you." Because someone's going to have to do it, because Russian children will die from radiation poisoning. Cancer rates will skyrocket. It ain't funny. And at that point, it is a world war. We may, for the good of the world, may have to invade Russia and take a few more nukes.
What is?
Oh, did I even talk about that? That stuff is unspeakable. And I spoke about it. Everybody go watch kitty pictures or something. Cleanse your palate. We don't want this ever, 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 ever. Bad.
So how does Putin's reign of terror end?
Well, like I said, the line from Apocalypse Now: go terminate the colonel's command.
So you think
it's going to be internal?
I think it was it Lindsey Graham who came out and said that somebody should assassinate Putin. Now, he was criticized because he's a sitting U.S. senator saying that, when you can't really be on the record saying that people might be thinking it, but you can't be a senator coming out and saying
they've got
that.
Crazy members of parliament over there who've been talking, let's do atomic war. I mean, you can't take that seriously. But we won't do it. It's not like in the movies where you can go, I'm going to send an elite, Navy SEAL team down there. They can't do it. They're too busy, writing memoirs and doing their hair. So it doesn't work like that. It's going to be someone who has lost something. It's going to be someone that's lost someone or understands the enormity of the crazy happening, and will pull a full Colonel Schaffenberger, right? The Nazi officer who tried to kill Hitler himself with a bomb. And you know what? You know what Klaus Schaffelberger's problem was? Not enough commitment. Okay? If I was Klaus Schaffelberger and I had an explosive suitcase right there, I would have got up, I would have pressed the detonator, and I would have said, der Fuhrer, hold this, bitch. And I would have grabbed him and I would have said, I'm going up, you're going down. Not enough commitment.
So here's my point. If it's somebody, if it is determined that the person who hypothetically takes out Putin is from us, isn't that an international incident?
Can't be from us.
Right.
We don't have that capacity. Nobody has that capacity. All right, this isn't Mission Impossible. Okay, you're not going to fly a stealth bomber over, or a drone, or have a ambush team waiting in the corners and all that stuff. Okay, I mean, this guy's got like 10 G-Wagons with armed guys following him. Not joking about the G-Wagons. So you're never going to, this isn't the way it's done. The way it's done is the way Indira Gandhi got assassinated, or the way Rajiv Gandhi got assassinated. Rajiv Gandhi had a woman who was a Tamil, and they were fighting, assisting the government of Sri Lanka against the Tamils. And she came with a wreath of flowers, right? But what they didn't know was around her waist, where they'd never searched, was a suicide bomb belt. And she had the detonator in her hand when she put the wreath over his head, and her arms were locked together around his neck with her waist against his waist. And it was like, what now, bitch? And boom, blew him sky high. Indira Gandhi was killed, if I'm not mistaken, was killed by a bodyguard who was a Sikh, one of the bodyguards in the royal household. Oh, am I right about that? So sorry, I don't want to be making mistakes on assassinations, but these things happen internally, right? These aren't things that happen simply because somebody wakes up one day, or like in the movies where someone just doesn't like you, right? And then they infiltrate a pistol. That won't happen. Oh, I got to check my accuracy.
While you're checking your accuracy there, I got a question from Samantha Hawkins, who wants to know, how do we as regular people help to fight the spread of Russian cyber misinformation?
Yeah, that's a good question. By calling it out. You have to call it out every time, all the time, right? The best thing that I like, because I got called out by Tucker Carlson twice last year in his A block about some crazy thing. Laura Ingraham once. I always know, because I get like 100 death threats the next morning, and I go, "What did Tucker Carlson say about me?" But you have to call it out, and I have learned that this is effective. When Russia Today did an article on me, calling me a quote unquote Russia expert, which is legitimate. I wasn't a Russia expert. I was an expert on Russian intelligence tactics, right? And I had mistakenly said that Putin was the ex-director of the KGB. And he was the first director of, I'm not wrong. Indira Gandhi was killed by her Sikh bodyguard, Sawani Singh and Beyonce Singh in the aftermath. Yeah. So,
right.
whew, there's a picture. So, what was I saying? Okay. How do you defeat the disinformation? You really have to mock them. They cannot tolerate being mocked. I did this to Russia today, and in that story, and they were like, "Well, you said he was the ex-director of the KGB," and I said, "Well, that was my mistake. Correct. I wasn't correct on that one. He was the first director of the FSB, which is the KGB." So I put a hashtag out, FSB is KGB, and it started trending. And so they defeated themselves. They just amplified my attack on them. They hate being mocked, right-wingers especially.
Our friend Alaska Cindy, for our final question, viewer question, wants to know, what do you feel Trump has done with all of the highly classified documents he stole and took to Mar-a-Lago?
Well, those documents could be notes, things that weren't actually classified at the time. Or if he took classified, there's a classified record, which means someone's going to have to do an audit of what's missing. All right. And there's usually copies, soft copies of these documents. So if somebody made up something, wrote down, I want to bomb Greenland, or I want to buy Greenland, and somebody stamps it top and bottom, top secret, no foreign, then that's different, because it's a constructed classified document. But I hope we find boatloads of it, because nothing's going to happen, because obviously he gets a pass on everything. But anyone, at our level and below, we'd be hammered. We'd be at Fort Leavenworth.
I mean, so the guy is hard up. He's hard up for cash, right? And if he's got boxes, 15, 20 boxes worth of classified info, can he not sell that to? No, he won't sell that.
He's already sold the nation. And it's more valuable? The stupid things that are in his head that are classified that he blurts out to people. Or when he does some dumbass thing like take a picture of a Iranian missile site, and it's very clear that this is very high US technology. And he's just like, look at it, tweets it out. Double D dumbass.
Okay, Malcolm, we are now at the part of the show which is my all-time favorite. This is the guessing game part of the show. Now, I mentioned earlier that I've given you 3 options, right? We have 1, name that TV show theme song, or 2, name that disco tune, or 3, name that 70s song. Which one do you think you would do better at?
Oh, I can't do all 3? All right.
No.
I got to pick one.
I'd like for you to, but we don't have time for that.
Okay, let me have I want to do the theme song.
TV show theme songs?
Yeah, let me do that. I would be very good at the 70s one, but I might not know all the TV theme song. Go ahead. Let's do the TV theme song.
Here's how it works, right? I'm going to sing the lyrics.
You're going to sing it?
Yes. Or hum. If there are no lyrics, if there's only music, if it's instrumental, I'll hum the lyrics of the tune, and you have to guess, right?
All right. Go ahead.
Okay. Wait a minute. Hang on. Okay. The first one. Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, come on. That's the A-Team, dude.
What?
It's the A-Team. Everybody knows that. Give me something that's hard.
You are correct, sir. We were looking for the A-Team.
That's ridiculously easy. I was like 10 back when that came out, so everybody knows that. Now, if you had hummed the theme to MacGyver, I would be very impressed.
Yeah, I didn't watch too much of the MacGyver show, but we approve. We approve of your quick answer to this one here. So
As soon as you said dun 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 dun, I was like, A-Team.
Okay.
What's next?
Here's the next one. Hang on. Here's the next one. I bet we've been together for 1,000,000 years, and I bet we'll be together for 1,000,000 more. Oh, it's like I started breathing on the night we kissed, and I can't remember what I ever did before. What would we do, baby, without us? What would we do, baby, without us? And there ain't no nothing we can't love each other through. What would we do, baby, without us? Sha-la-la-la.
That did not help. Hold on. It's in my head. If you played the actual theme like normal people would, it would be a little easier.
Normal people, and sadly, you get the look of the disapproving meme.
Yeah. You know what? I know it, but I don't know it. And as soon as you tell me, I'll go, oh yeah.
Okay. It was the theme for Family Ties, starring.
Okay. All right. Stop. Training timeout. Okay. Who watched that show? Okay.
That's so many people.
What year was that?
That was 80s, I think.
Yeah, 80s, like when I was already in the military. I didn't watch that stupid pile. I could tell you right now, I would never have gotten it because I would never have watched that show. I was too busy doing things like, being in Beirut for the Beirut bombing or the 2 American embassy attacks or the Libyan air raid. That's what I was doing in the 80s. Oh, God. Right. People suck. All right, next one. Last one.
To redeem yourself here. Here we go.
All right.
Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, Hawaii 5-0. No one could figure out what Hawaii 5-0 really was. And I remember my dad having deep debates about, is it the state police? Is it a county police? It's 5-0, so it's Hawaii cops, and it's like, okay, yeah.
5-0 is slang for cops.
Yes, but it's also the 50th state.
And
I don't think 5-0 was slang until that show was until the 90s. And it was 5-0, the 50th state. But it could also be the technical term Hawaii cops, which has led to that debate. It's like, well, who are these guys? They have offices and they wear ties. And they're like, what are they? The state police, the Hawaii Bureau of Investigations? No one ever defined that. What the state, federal, or local role of Dave McGarrett was, right?
I'm going to find out.
Yeah. I'm going with State Department of Investigations or something. It's probably 2 guys in a Hawaiian shirt, right, in an office, and they were like, we're gonna make this awesome.
Okay, here's the next one.
All right. Oh, there's more than 3. Okay.
Oh yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Laverne and Shirley. Before we even started this show, I said he's gonna do Laverne and Shirley.
What?
Yep. It popped into my head. Everybody knows Laverne and Shirley. And you started with the narration, not the actual song.
Ah, yes. Okay. Here's the next one. Well, you get
Okay.
You get the cowbell for that. All right. You ready?
Wait, why do I get... Is that a good thing, the cowbell?
Oh, yeah. It's good.
Okay.
When you get the cowbell, it's good. Who can turn the world on with her smile?
Isn't that Mary Tyler Moore?
Oh! Yes.
Oh, okay. See, that's early 80s. I had time to watch something. That's actually more late 70s, early 80s.
That's
most of the shows.
Actually, early 70s. Yeah.
Well
so, done, sir. Okay, let's see.
Well, you know what they say. Wait, is there another one?
Yeah. I got
Okay, go ahead.
hang on. Let's see. Hold on.
Family Ties. I didn't even know that was a real show.
Look at what's happened to me.
Oh, come on, man.
I can't believe it myself.
It's Greatest American Hero, dude. Stupidest fucking. Pardon. Can you use bad language?
Yeah, man, you can totally.
Stupidest fucking show ever put on television. I can tell you how many times I've watched it. Okay, because they use the music that's from an ABC high school special or school special or something, believe it or not. And I'm like, I can't get past the goddamn credits. Oh. Right? It's just like, I'm a geek, but that's a superhero, y'all. And it's just like, I'm going in the military. Screw this. This is a dumbass show. Go on.
The thing that irritated me was the fact that he spent all that time with the suit and couldn't figure out how to fly without looking like a moron.
Oh my God. White boots, dude. White boots. You look like you're from Cleveland.
Okay. So last but not least, I do have our segment that I like to call My Favorite Things.
Oh, right? Okay.
A rapid fire. I'm asking you, straight up questions about your favorite things. Okay. And we're going to kick it off right now.
All right.
Favorite cartoon growing up?
Oh, favorite cartoon growing up? Bugs Bunny.
Favorite TV show?
Big Blue Marble.
Oh shit!
Remember that show?
Yeah,
that put me straight into the spy world, bro.
Holy cow! Wow.
That show fostered incredible curiosity from me to want to learn what other kids were like around the world. Now, I didn't amend it with the "and kill them" part until I got into the military, but I am still insatiably curious about the world. I love traveling. That show is a great show. It should be brought back.
I gotta YouTube that now. Yeah, I remember it. I just need to YouTube it. I do remember that.
See, I should have sang the theme song and see if you could guess it.
I wouldn't.
Go on.
I remember the theme song to that. I remember.
Well, the title's in it. The Earth's a big blue marble. When you see it from out there, the sun and moon declare a beauty very rare.
Oh, but you didn't sing it though.
Folks are folks and kids are kids. We share a common name. See? So anyway.
The brother can sing too.
Yeah. It ain't my Barry. I'm not doing my best Barry White though. All right. What else? What else?
Favorite movie?
Favorite movie of all time?
Yeah.
Casablanca, without any question.
Oh shit. Favorite superhero?
Favorite superhero? Ooh, that's with you know what I'm going to say, right? You know what I'm going to say. You should just guess it for me. Captain America. But hold on, the real Captain America. Captain America when he was in like the Captain America version from the movie, the first movie of Captain America when he started in World War II. One of my favorite adjuncts to this is a book that I recommend when I do leadership courses called The Virtues of Captain America. And Captain America is the most liberal, progressive, World War II virtue-steeped person in all of comic bookdom, which is why when you have Captain America, what's the name of that? Not Civil War. The Winter Soldier. Yeah, which is why, when he figures out Hydra had taken over S.H.I.E.L.D., he goes, it all comes down. S.H.I.E.L.D., Hydra, you can't be trusted with yourself, your rat bastages. So that, by the way, is probably my second favorite film.
Johnny Dangerously?
No. Captain America, Winter Soldier. That film rocks. That film has so much heart. But Captain America, the original Captain America, is the first Avenger. It's just, I love that film.
Yeah, I would actually. My favorite of all the Captain Americas is the Winter Soldier. I've watched that
Woo!
at least a dozen times, at least.
Winter
On your left.
Soldier. There's actually a song in there, a piece of music called "Taking a Stand," and it's the one where after he beats everybody's ass in the elevator, he jumps out the elevator and then falls on his shield, and the guy goes, "What are you kidding me?" I love that.
Okay, favorite singer or group?
Interesting little tidbit. All right, I grew up in Philadelphia. I've been around the world. I've done a lot of things, and my favorite band is one that you will never have heard of. Most people will never have heard of. It's an English singer by the name of Tracy Thorn and her husband Ben Watt, and they have a band called Everything But the Girl. And I love Everything But the Girl. My wedding song was a song called Love Is Here Where I Live by Everything But the Girl.
I don't know why that sounds familiar to me.
They had one big hit called Missing, and it was turned into like an electro pop song. But the rest of their work is insane. She crosses genres and music categories and just amazing characters.
Favorite vacation place?
Like in the entire world?
Yeah.
Paris. You cannot beat Paris ever. I was in Paris last Bastille Day, July 14th, because I had never been in Paris. I had never seen the Bastille parade, and it was the middle of COVID, and we could get in with our vaccine certificate, and the city was empty. You could get into the Louvre in 30 minutes instead of 4 hours behind all the Chinese tourists. Bastille Day, I stood almost on the end of a curb and watched the parade. I got Macron going down there with his armies and everything. I was like, God, I love Paris, baby. Love it. And it's got a huge African-American community that's been there since World War I, when my grandfather and his brother served in France.
I have never been
in World War I.
I'm going to add it to my bucket list. No, I haven't.
It's $600 round trip. Get your ass to Paris.
Is it really cheap?
Mrs. Disappointed Dad should really be knocking you in the head. She can be cheap now. No one's there. The place is empty. You can have Paris to yourself. A big romantic. You can go for the weekend. Take a 4-day weekend, fly out, go to Paris, go to a couple of restaurants, have a nice stay at the Westin Place Vendôme, have a coffee on Rue de Rivoli, go to the Louvre, go home.
Favorite Twitter account?
Well, mine. Of every account on Twitter?
Yeah.
That's a long haul. That's a big haul. That's too big. Several pop into my head, but none that I would say I could rule out all the others. So, okay. I mean, there's various ones at various times. Like right now, I got my buddy, Terrell Starr, who's still in Ukraine, running around in my body armor.
Seen him, yeah.
I love him. And he's just hilarious. He's very funny, but interesting fact. Peace Corps he was a Peace Corps volunteer, was in Georgia for the invasion of South Ossetia. So he's already been through one Russian invasion, was a Fulbright scholar, learned Russian, lived in Russia, lived in Ukraine since 2009, half the year. And he is a true expert. And it's really interesting because he's Black. It's very interesting to see people attack him because he helped evacuate a family of a cancer victim who needed emergency treatment, and Lithuania took her in and gave it to her for free. And he got her out of Kiev last week. And journalists were like, "You're not a journalist. You got involved with the story." It's like, yeah, many of you are getting killed without getting involved in anything. You're also a human being.
God damn. Cats or dogs?
Dogs. Got beagles.
Pizza or burgers?
Pizza. Wait, pizza or burgers at any time? If I had to choose, no, I'd have to choose burgers.
Okay. Bicycle or roller skates?
Bicycle, dude.
If you could live anywhere, where would that be?
Anywhere in the world?
Yeah.
That's a tough question for me. You know, I lost my wife 2.5 years ago to cancer.
Very
She
sorry.
was the most hilarious person. I always talk about her on podcasts. And I looked very hard at finding a house near Washington Crossing National Cemetery, where she's buried outside of Philadelphia, where George Washington crossed the Delaware.
Mhm.
And I looked, and that's Bucks County.
Uh-oh. Malcolm? You appear to have lost you there. Hello, hello. Let's see. Can I do this? No. You seem to be a little frozen there, sir. Oh, man. If you can hear me, you are frozen. Perhaps you might need to pop out and then jump back on in. Let's see. So I see you have popped out. Hopefully you can jump back in and join me. Those of you who are watching, we've been talking with Malcolm Nance for a little over 90 minutes, and we're right at the tail end doing his favorite things. And so hopefully, let's see. Is he trying to ping me here? See. Yeah, no, I do not have him back yet. But this was a fascinating interview with Malcolm Nance, and I want to say I really appreciate the time that he spent. He was just telling us about the place that he would like to live, and I believe it was going to be the place that his wife, in a place near where his wife is buried. Which I think would be a perfect answer. And I want to thank you all for joining me for another wonderful episode of Storytime with BDD. I'm your host, BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad. And if you have not yet gotten your shot, please do so. Get your vaccine, get your booster shot. If you do still feel inclined to do so at this stage, please wear a mask. Keep your social distance 6 feet or better. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Storytime with BDD. Peace.